Good morning, you guys. This is Monty back at it again. Just finished wiping down my car, got that out of the way, and it's all about the small things in life. Excuse the noise. When you take care of a number of miscellaneous small items, hopefully on a daily basis, that typically frees up your mind in a certain way that allows you to focus on more important things. I think far too many people have an abundance of, of small things that are left undone and left unchecked, and then they grow into big things, and people get distracted or inundated rather because of the abundance of larger small things that turn into larger things, larger issues. So try to keep that in mind. That's my word for the day, so to speak. Stay on top of those issues or the smaller things, in hopes of preventing them from becoming larger things, which of course will distract you from your medium and long-term planning and meeting those objectives for the medium and long term. Okay, so get those things out of the way, and you'll find that you'll have less stress because you're not sweeping garbage under the carpet, which typically means that one day you're gonna trip over the carpet and bust your ankle, more than likely. So, so how you guys doing? Lovely day in sunny Southern California, Camarillo more specifically. It seems like it's going to get probably 80 degrees today. Nice and sunny out. It's all about shorts and thongs and maybe a tank top or something. But you definitely don't want to be overdressed in this environment out here. Like almost a perpetual summer situation. Let's see what's going on in the economy. Whoops, excuse the noise. Trying to think, what are some of the latest things I've been reading about? Let's see. I think trying to figure out what good news is there out there. I don't know. Let's get these things out of the way. The Apple's reporting sluggish phone sales. The demand for phones is not what Apple anticipated. So they're gonna start reporting in a different way. They're not gonna be reporting so much unit sales anymore as far as phones are concerned. They're going to be eventually focusing on services and reporting how revenues are doing as far as services and some sort of aggregate numbers as compared to individual sales and such. It seems like a number of companies, as a matter of fact, you guys, you need to notice these trends. If you're not paying attention, I'll just tell you. Trump mentioned, and this is a veiled attempt to get us a little bit less information in terms of how bad it is as far as companies are concerned now. Trump proposed quarterly reporting of earnings. I'm sorry. Instead of quarterly reporting, he wants annual reporting of earnings. Earnings typically are reported on a quarterly basis in corporate America. That helps analysts and investors get an idea of the short term, what's going on with these companies. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I just want to point out that he proposed this change going from quarterly to annual, right? Wall Street, for whatever reason, decided on a wholesale level, most of the companies were dead against it, right? But maybe that was just a smokescreen or something. Maybe that's not really how they felt. Maybe they just wanted to see how that was going to come across. Because lo and behold, Apple, IBM, or a number of companies are actually going to be changing the way they report a lot of the sales and revenue related information to us. And typically, unfortunately, see, I've been an investor for 30 years or something, a lot longer than a number of you guys have been alive. But unfortunately, what that implicates is this. If companies don't want us to see very specifically how they're doing on a quarterly basis and how they're doing as far as actual unit sales of cars or iPhones or furniture or whatever it is, usually that means they're not proud of those numbers, okay? As Steve Jobs pointed out a long time ago, when Amazon didn't want to report actual unit sales of the Kindle ebook reader, I think it was, people, were kind of like totally behind Steve Jobs as far as what he was saying about Amazon rather, and the Kindle sales. They figured Steve Jobs was right? And there was very good, valid reasoning behind what Steve Jobs was saying. It made sense, right? Well, lo and behold, Tim Cook is now saying he doesn't want to break out unit sales of the iPhones, or at least a certain model of iPhone at this point. And it's kind of ironic that they want to have less transparency as compared to more transparency, particularly when we all know, or most of us know, a lot of us know, that the iPhone sales definitely have been not keeping pace what they had been typically for the most part under Steve Jobs. So anyway, corporate America slowly but surely is going to get away from reporting actual unit sales of the things that are being sold. I don't care if it's furniture, cars, phones, computers, and such. And you're going to see more of a summary information, or at least less quarterly reporting, probably more annual information as compared to what you're getting now. So just keep your eyes and ears open. I'll probably publish some information in another article, in an article detailing how that's changing. So investors and analysts and such are already preparing for this. So, but you guys will actually get a chance to get access to some of that same information regarding how these companies are attempting to cover up lackluster sales by doing less detailed reporting of unit sales in terms of things that are sold in corporate America. Now, let's see. Before I forget, my name is Monty Henry, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. I run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products. We have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We have the largest inventory of items. Not only can you buy, but you can rent and layaway as well. And we have the largest media library, bar none. I think that the diversity of information in our media center, if you will, which includes articles, podcasts, blogs, demonstration videos, and such, on diverse topics such as cybersecurity, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, economics and finance, and health and fitness, and anti-terrorism technologies, surveillance and counter-surveillance, just an abundance of information, and a huge and growing miscellaneous category, which is a catch-all for all the other articles and such that don't fit into the categories that I just mentioned. So, and also we used to have Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bcash in the shopping cart. So you're cryptocurrency millionaires, and like I know, if you've been involved with cryptocurrencies for the last 4 or 5 years, it has been the world's best performing asset class, bar none. And so there's a lot of crypto wealth out there that is just waiting for the appropriate time to start spending, and hopefully we'll get to that point soon enough. But you may want to break off something for us in our shopping cart on our website. So get your favorite spy gadgets, get your lifetime guaranteed and warranted, state-of-the-art surveillance and counter-surveillance equipment, all of it is supported around the clock by our 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support policies. And I'm pretty sure you'll be happy and excited playing with your new gadgets just like we are every day, playing with the new spy gadgets and such. And the website is completely redesigned. I'm very proud of the job that the developer has done. And we're tweaking it all the time. We're adding information, new products, got tons of new products, tons of used products, which were formerly products that were rented out. So yeah, you can rent things and layaway things and buy used things and save a lot of money. Um, and we want to poke a finger in the eye of the MasterCards and the Visas and American Express, even the banks, the UBSs and the Wells Fargos and the JP Morgan Chase, the Morgan Stanleys, and the credit card issuers. I don't want to leave them out. MasterCard, Visa, Discover, Amex, all those guys. All of them are crooks and criminals, okay? I have way, way too much information on my website where every conceivable government agency, the SEC, the DOJ, the you name it, CFTC, every conceivable agency has fined, penalized, forced settlements. A lot of them are lacking the admission of guilt, of course. Corporate America doesn't have to ever admit guilt because they have that type of relationship with the people in government in Washington, D.C. So, but they've been caught red-handed at everything conceivable, you guys. You have to understand this, the implications. Even the central bankers. I have articles talking about central bankers and family members looting their own countries of $1, $5, $10 billion at a time. Everybody's on the take, okay? In the fiat currency world, everyone is on the take, okay? I don't care what company you name a bank or a financial institution, I'll show you fines and penalties and settlements against them. And go to my website first because I don't want to waste a lot of time. You don't want to waste my time or your time. Go to my website first. And there's a particular article, something about central bankers and Federal Reserve people all have sticky fingers. Just do a search on sticky fingers or something. Or look under the category of economics and finance and read it. That article is getting so long it's not even funny. It just goes on and on and on with manipulation of interest rates, currency manipulation, what else? Spoofing, where traders working for J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley and Wells Fargo are putting their trades ahead of the public's trades and everything else. So it's a lot of insider shenanigans going on, but of course, no one wants to admit that. You know, if you're for whatever stupid reason, people have this sense of cognitive dissonance where they just don't want to admit anything at all. Let's take a look at this article and see how that fits in, because I think today's article is very revealing, and I'm accumulating tons of information on the implications of, I'll just give you a little teaser of how foreign investors, people outside the United States, are getting fed up with how we're running our economy. And they're no longer buying our debt. What a concept, right? People lose faith or confidence in you, and they no longer buy your debt. So I guess you got to buy your own debt. Maybe you Trump supporters or whatever idiots out there think that the economy is booming. You can try to figure out why you have so much debt that's not being purchased by foreigners in the way it was. But I guess if it's booming, you can buy your own debt, right? So maybe these affluent Trump supporters or whoever out there, maybe they can help purchase some of these treasuries that nobody else wants to have anything to do with. The name of this particular article is, Would Someone Please Buy U.S. Treasury Bonds? Again, would someone please buy U.S. Treasury bonds? The erosion of demand in emerging Asian markets reflects their maturation into more stable economies. Asian investors are proving less and less eager to buy U.S. government bonds, even as the Treasury Department prepares to sell $1.3 trillion of new debt in the new fiscal year. Let me just preference this. I can't help it. Let me preference this. This country is issuing so much debt because foreigners aren't buying it, and yet you got the country has to run on something, right? If they don't issue new debt, theoretically, we're already running on fumes anyway, but now they have to issue larger and larger amounts of new debt to someone, even though no one's buying it. They're just having these auctions, right? And no one's showing up, and it's basically a house of cards. Anyway, now you get $1.3 trillion of new debt that's going to be issued just to keep the doors open. We're not talking about, doing anything substantial like building infrastructure or anything like that. The infrastructure is being built overseas. Take a look at the articles on how China is spending real money for infrastructure development, and every country and their brother-in-law is actually working with China versus the United States. So anyway, where was I? Holdings have particularly stagnated in a number of emerging Asian economies, including South Korea, Singapore, Thailand, and Taiwan, which have prized U.S. government debt as a capital bulwark since the 1997 Asian currency crisis. Many observers assume the U.S. has no trouble finding demand for its debt in the vast pool of worldwide governments, financial institutions, mutual funds, and individual investors who want to own the world's major risk-free asset. Yet, the Treasury is finding fewer buyers in some parts of the world, leaving domestic investors such as mutual funds to pick up the slack. So again, as you get less and less people who have confidence in buying your debt, now you got to really go out on a limb to convince domestic people to pick up the debt, which I don't know if that's a sign of strength, but definitely doesn't sound good. So you need to keep that in mind, you guys. The erosion of demand in these emerging markets also reflects their maturation into more stable economies where investors have a greater array of domestic investments in which to place their money. So let me just make sure you guys understand what that means. Investors outside the United States, they have alternatives. They have choices. China, for instance, is spreading $1 trillion approximately out amongst various countries. They're building infrastructure. They're building highways, toll bridges, airports, harbors, cell phone towers, everything imaginable. And these are trophy properties. These are properties that cost a lot of money and entail very, very big, ambitious plans for the developing and emerging economies and some that are already developed. But China has a lot of money to throw around. Trump is going around talking and begging and everything else, spreading rhetoric, but the rhetoric doesn't compare to somebody who like President Xi actually coming out to you and having money in his hand, satchels of money, as compared to Trump, who's like, he got his hand out and it's empty. Okay, moving right along. They don't need to build any more buffers, said Tim Out, who manages currencies and bonds with UK-based Aviva investors. They have an alternative where you don't have to recycle everything into U.S. treasuries. So again, the economic scene on a worldwide basis is changing. It's not necessary to go through treasuries. It's not necessary to deal with the dollars. It's not necessary to kiss ass of the U.S. government. It's not working out for a lot of foreign investors and people who are knowledgeable about money and economics. They are bypassing this particular country's finance or economic system altogether. Moving right along. The lack of demand doesn't reflect a critique of U.S. fiscal policy, but is more likely an indirect byproduct of U.S. trade tensions with China, according to Torsten Slok. I just want to say real quick, Torsten Slok has his head up his ass, and he has cognitive dissonance, definitely. He doesn't want to admit the facts. And you guys are going to have an abundance of facts that illustrate that this is not anything to do with a short-term problem. This is a long-term structural problem that's not going to be fixed anytime soon. So these are long-term trends. Always pay attention to the long-term trends. Don't get run over because some idiot wants to divert or distract you from knowing and understanding what the long term of the big picture looks like. Chief international economist at Deutsche Bank Securities. Anyway, Torsten Slok is chief international economist at Deutsche Bank Securities, which is about to go bankrupt itself. China is the world's second largest economy and the region's largest trading partner for many countries. So weakness in its currency, the yuan, also has weighed down the currencies of many of its neighbors. In other circumstances, these countries could harbor more demand for U.S. debt, but currently lack a compelling need to buy it, he said. So we're just going to skip that whole paragraph because, again, Torsten is trying to make us believe that this is a short-term byproduct or something of the tariff situation. But believe it or not, the United States debt situation has been going on for a long time, and it's reaching the point of where everybody is like, let me get my money out of these investment vehicles in the United States and get them into something where we don't have to worry about losing it. Besides, it pays more dividends, if you will, to work with China since they actually have a lot of money to play with. The Treasury data could understate demand from private investors in Asia, such as insurance companies, because they often make purchases through intermediaries in other countries, according to Brad Sitzer, an economist at the Council on Foreign Relations. However, the most important detail about demand from the region is the lack of intervention by central banks, he said. Let me just tell you guys, okay? No one's understating demand. No one is ignoring the significance of the issue. Everyone is aware that the ability to service our debt is the problem. That's a major problem, okay? And that's not going to be remedied anytime soon, okay? I pointed out over and over again, the demographics of the United States is getting older, okay? The younger people aren't coming into the job place with the type of wages and in the type of numbers that's going to give them the opportunity to contribute to the entitlement programs and to make up for the servicing of the government, corporate, private pension funds, public pension funds, household debt, all of these trillions and trillions of dollars. You can't fix that problem over the short term. It's going to take. The system has basically just got to collapse and be restructured, maybe based upon cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin or transparency or something like that, the blockchain. But the current system is just screwed, okay? $22 trillion in government debt, $13.3 trillion in household debt, about $6 or $7 billion in corporate debt, unfunded pension liabilities in the hundreds of billions of dollars. It just goes on and on, guys. So pay attention to the big overall picture, not the distracting headlines or whatever these idiots are trying to throw at you. Moving right along. Since the start of June, when the U.S. first imposed tariffs on China, Korea's currency, the won, has dropped 3.3% against the dollar, while the Singapore dollar has declined 2.7%. Thailand's baht has fallen 2.4%, and the Taiwan dollar has slipped 2%. Those moves compare with a 7.1% loss in China's yuan. The declines in Asian emerging markets currencies have helped their exports remain competitive versus China, but they also have reduced the need for them to buy treasuries, a popular way for central bankers to weaken their currencies against the dollar, Mr. Slock said. So just make sure you guys understand the cheaper foreign currencies in emerging markets typically mean that you have an advantage as far as you're selling into the export market. When people buy your goods and services and you have a weaker currency versus a stronger currency, they don't pay as much to you. So it's been in the interest of a lot of these emerging and developing countries to keep their currencies relatively cheap as compared to others, particularly yuan, for instance, a major trading partner. So things are working out for them very well, and they'll probably say, thank you very much, United States, but we don't need you for hedging. We don't need you for kissing your ass because you promised to work with us, but you haven't been able to work with us and help us develop our countries. The United States has basically been looting and raiding and taking advantage as compared to really helping. So a lot of these countries, they don't forget. While it is unclear whether the reduction of Treasury purchases is a deliberate decision or simply free markets at work, which they are free markets at work, the lack of demand shows trade tensions between the United States and China have been spilling over into the rest of Asia, Mr. Slock said. So that's about it for that article. And this article links to another article, and I suggest you take a look at both of them because the details of us issuing more and more debt to the tune of $1.3 trillion. You want to scrutinize that. You want to make sure you understand the long-term implications of that and what that means, because this is election season, if you will, and everyone wants to say there's a booming economy, plenty of jobs, everyone's happy, money is flowing like crazy, but if that's the case, why is there so much unserviceable debt? Why is your government constantly printing bonds, trying to sell them to whoever that will take them, and just to have us find out there's less and less people that want to have anything to do with it? If the economy was booming, foreign investors, they would be tripping over themselves to buy your debt, participate in your economy and such. But home sales, okay, the amount of companies that are laying off people and closing down. Lowe's, we talked about Lowe's getting rid of 40, 50 stores. We talked about Verizon laying off 40, 50,000 people. We talked about Ford going to lay off 40,000 people. We talked about a lot of people are going to lose their jobs in the mortgage industry because interest rates are going up. We talked about Sears closing down, JCPenney struggling, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. There's going to be so many people looking for jobs in this so-called booming economy. It's not even going to be funny. You think it's sad now when you go look for a job and you have 500 candidates who are desperate for one job opening, but you got 500 candidates, and that doesn't bode very well for the scenario that these people are trying to pull over your eyes, okay? Again, it's just too many people desperate for one job, basically. If it's a booming economy, again, you stay at your job, you make a lot of money where you are, and common sense should dictate that this is how it works, okay? But anyway, don't be stupid, don't be fooled, and understand the differences. I'll continue to publish as much factual information as possible, and so you won't get caught up and distracted. And you don't want to be one of these statistics where these retirees, like I was reading the other day, a lot of retirees now, they have $8,000 in annual income from their retirement investments for an entire year, and then the Generation Xers, I think the millennials rather, they're the most popular topic or discussion or forum or blogs and podcasts for the millennials is how do you exercise extreme frugality? In other words, how do you do without everything imaginable, almost including food, just to save enough money so you can have some financial independence? I mean, it's good that people want to save and monitor their finances so they could become wealthier eventually, or leave the workforce sooner rather than later. But at the same time, I'm talking about extreme frugality. I'm talking about people who look for meat that's almost expired, people who look in garbage bins for used clothing and such. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. This would be such a hot topic if it didn't resonate with a lot of people. So, again, pay attention, keep your eyes and ears open, and stay safe out there. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.